Good afternoon. Welcome to another podcast. And last week we discovered why I am not, and I would not be a good narrator. Um, with the, because the whole idea of narrating is whenever you narrate something, you kind of have to keep a stoic, straight face so people will kind of take you seriously. You don't want to laugh through the whole introduction, which you would do with me because I because I was already laughing at the initial previously on One Tree Hill, but it's funny because that might have something to do with why I started doing this when it comes to secrets. Because if a person is close and if a person like that's giving me a secret gives me a really good idea that I think is brilliant, I'll smile about it. At least if I zip my lip and throw it, they're distracted by the zip lip and throw it. That like they a lot of times will forget the reason I was smiling, which hopefully only people that know me won't pry about that because then I would have to figure out other ways to other ways to cover it up, which I that can always be arranged. But anyway, on to part four of the lessons from Tree Hill. You change people's lives by opening your heart. And now, this is a very important thing in light of the verse in the Bible that says, because iniquity will abound, the love of many will grow cold. And, we've seen this in a lot of ways in life, and it's something that we as followers of Christ cannot allow to happen. And so it's like there's a there's a song that I was reminded of, for this part. Don't Let Your Heart Be Hardened by Petra. Yeah, it's an old song. Those people who are young that are watching this, it's a recommended listen. You'll like it. It's not. I mean, it's not ancient. It's still prevalent. It's so good. I had to say, like, there was a couple weeks ago, I told a young customer about the song "If Everyone Cared." He was like, "That was a generation ago," and I'm like, "All right." Like, I just shook my head. So I'm like, "Okay, fair enough." But it's like, but yeah. Anyway, it says, "Don't let your heart be hardened. Don't let your love grow cold. May it always stay so childlike. May it never grow too old. Don't let your heart be hardened. May you always know the cure. Keep it broken before Jesus. Keep it thankful, meek, and pure. May it always feel compassion. May it be as one with God's. May it never be contrary. May it never be at odds. May it always be forgiving. May it never grow conceit. May it always be encouraged. May it never know defeat. May your heart be always open, never satisfied with right. May your heart be filled with courage and be strengthened with all might. Let his love rain down upon you, breaking up your fallow ground. Let it loosen all the binding till only tenderness is found. And it's like it's important because we as Christians, when you open up your heart to people, even people that have wronged you, um, it in a way it opens theirs as well, because then I mean, without thinking, because that's the way God set it up to be. And God's like God's way works every time. Father God knows best. But and so it's like um it was kind of like a I watched an Aesop's fable thing with cold weather, and the cold cannot make them shed their coats, But the minute that the sun came out, Jesus, um, that's when like they started shedding their coats. Like, his love and his compassion, everything that he is, causes people to open up as well. And now, why is it so much easier to forgive a stranger than it is to forgive someone you love? And this is one that is that I got to thinking about. It's with a stranger, you really don't have any expectations. It's like you want to believe the best in them, but if a stranger hurts us, it's like it's second nature. Like, okay, like Jesus says, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. So it's easy to just say, what, they didn't know any better. They didn't know me. Like they didn't trust me. No big deal. That's easy to overcome. But when a family member does it, you have expectations. You take them for granted. It's kind of good behavior is the expected behavior, and so when they don't act the way that you want them to act, or the way that God would expect them to act, it is harder to forgive sometimes. But I mean, like it's like I've said like so many times, is that forgiveness is it's crucial as a follower of Christ. You can't be a follower of Christ without forgiveness. But but that was just something that brought out by Tree Hill. It's like, questions that were asked. I was like, yeah, I'll put that one down. Struggles get more intense when things start to get better. Oh boy, don't we know this to be true? Because in life, when struggles are happening, we kind of look at life as though, it's always going to be this way. I can adjust to it, no problem. Then when things get better, you're like, oh, cool, I can relax now. No, man, another fight. But no, it's just life. But how much better would life be if we all lived free of assumptions? Oh boy, that would be fun. Actually, that would actually be like, we'd all have better relationships with one another. It's like, because rather than because without thinking, it's easier to assume than it is to ask questions. And assumptions, like I did a destructive assumptions. I don't think we realize how destructive assumptions really are, but without them, and everybody asked questions and actually tried to get to the bottom of why they did what they did, or what was in their thought process, and yada yada yada. You get to know them, and so the more you get to know them, the less room there is for assumptions, which takes time. Hence the old saying, "Love takes time." Sometimes people surprise you. Yeah. Um, if you could change one thing about your life, would you? And if you did, would that make your life better or break yours or someone's heart? And this was one that Lucas wrote, narrating, I think, at the end of an episode. Um, and when we go through heartbreak, it's a common thing for us to say, man, I wish I hadn't known that person. I wish that I hadn't gone through that. But when your heartaches you go through are often blessings in disguise. I liked the episode where Lucas had a heart attack after the basketball game, after the championship game, and the episode after, he was like, he was had an out of body experience where Keith was with him, and they went back through his friend's life, and it's like, oh, what would have happened if I was not who I was, and it showed that a lot of people's lives were the better because he opened his heart, and in a way, I mean, it's kind of a side note. In a way, I kind of wish that were to happen, because then it'd be like it would encourage us along the way. But in a way, it kind of the Holy Spirit does do that in ways that in our time of need. But one thing about it is we always we make a bigger difference in people's lives than what we realize a lot of times. And I remember having an eye-opening experience 20 years ago when I got ran over by a truck, because I used to think along the lines of if I died, who would care? And it's a dangerous thought line, but you know what? God has grace for us, and that's why he doesn't calmly say, "How dare you say that?" No, thank God he's merciful and gracious, because commonly, because what happened opened my eyes, because when I got ran over the 3 days that I was in the hospital, my phone blew off the hook, or rang off the hook, because I always had people calling to check on me. I always had, during visiting hours, I always had people who were showing up and talking and encouraging me, and that lifts your spirits more than you realize. And so God answered that question that was intended on being a feel sorry for me thing. But God's like, no, look, these people care about you more than what you realized at the start, and and yeah, it's kind of a tool that God uses to help you press on. But yeah, you can't prove intent on why anything is done or not done. And people love a guy who rises from the ashes. And it's funny because I automatically, I'm a wrestling fan for those who did not know. The wrestler that I respect the most is The Undertaker, but the image that will live rent free in my head was when Undertaker. I think Undertaker had several buried alive matches, but he had one in particular. I don't remember who his opponent was. My friend Jeff, if he watches this, may end up commenting and say this is who it was. All right, cool. Please do. Where he's in the where he's been buried, and then after the match, his hand comes out of the dirt, and I'm just like, oh my God! Sorry, Lord, took your name in vain, but yeah, it's like we all love a story of people who seems like they're defeated, but but by the grace of God and by His power, they rise from the ashes. Life doesn't owe us anything. We owe everyone our best. Now, that's a humbling thing I've seen too. When open up a notebook paper and you see, okay, this is the list of the things that life owes you. Nothing. But yeah, give everybody your very best, because it's not because you owe them necessarily your best, but you in doing well. Actually, yeah, yes and no. Knowing the concept of it, as far as okay, if you give whatever you do, do it wholeheartedly as unto the Lord and not unto men. If you give God your best, you're going to be able to give other people your best as well. So it's not necessarily, I guess, that you owe others your best, but if you're giving God your best, you're going to give others your best. Bouncing back is knowing what your calling is and not allowing anyone or anything to stand in the way of that call. And you got to take a stand for what you believe in. If you give in, it only gets worse. And that's life, and like that's life in a nutshell. It's like, because what ends up happening is in the standpoint of persevering. If you don't give up, um, it like like the being like the stick to itiveness. Is instilled, like, because habits are formed through through fire. Just like we're tried by fire, so are our habits. If we quit, it's easier to quit than it after we've done it once than it is doing it the first time. It's kind of like it's the reverse of you don't know. I mean, um, yeah, okay, just a sec. It's the reverse of when it comes to things that you haven't had. You can't miss what you haven't had, but then the more you have of that thing, the more you want. It's but it's kind of the same concept, though. If you don't quit, you don't know what it's like to not quit. And and a lot of ways you like, yeah, I don't want to know. And this is for like things that are good. You keep if you quit, you're like, when things are difficult, it's a whole lot more. It's a whole lot more easy to do going forward. So it's always best to just when you set your mind to something, keep fighting for it, and because God will give you if that desire is from the Lord, God will give you the strength to keep pursuing it. If it's not, then everyone who does things that is not given to you by God labor in vain who do it anyway. And so there's just going to be a point where you run into a dead end. And yeah, don't feel bad about that. We all run into dead ends, relationships and otherwise. But the whole idea of if it's given to you by God, God is going to give you the tools to help you to stay and keep pushing forward towards it. It's okay to be afraid, but if you don't work through your fear, you'll miss out on some pretty great things. And everyone has to stand up to their mom to grow up to become who they were meant to be. Now this is a hard one too, because I've had to stand up to my mom on several occasions in life, and it's I will always love and adore my mom. She is an amazing woman of God. I would not be who I am if it was not for her and for my brother and for all the people that God has blessed me with. But yeah, you have to stand up to your mom at times. Now, doesn't mean that you look for opportunities to do that, but really what that amounts to is things that you are passionate about and God puts in your heart to stand for. Those are things like, okay, you realize, what, I'm not backing down on this because this is something that God gave me. And because as awesome as our parents can be, they can be wrong too. God is never wrong. Um, he's always right because he's always good. But but yeah. So key thing on that. What would you do if somebody grabbed your wife or girlfriend's behind? Now, this was kind of an individual thing, because really, this is where boundaries are important. If a woman sets boundaries, that behavior won't be allowed. That behavior will not happen. But For me, I would have an issue with it if I ever saw another man grab, if I had a girlfriend, my wife or girlfriend's behind, because that's in no way, shape, or form has that ever been respectful. Maybe it was at some in some twisted time back in the back in the day before 1979 when I was born, but it's never been a respectful move in my lifetime. And so that's I can't imagine how that would be respectful in any way, shape, or form. But boundaries, being like setting your boundaries, that behavior is probably not likely to happen. Why do women want men to not react when these things happen, and like, do they like the attention? And the thing is, I mean, like, that led me to ask that because there were several times where Nathan beat up somebody that wouldn't that was messing with Haley, and then there was times where Quentin Fields did it as well, and like, Quentin was on the basketball team with season four, no, season 4 and 5, yes, no, it's 5 and 6, sorry, but but yeah, he but the whole idea with that is, I mean, it's instinct. If a person messes with your girlfriend or wife in front of you, yeah, it's natural for a man to say, you know what, no, well, I'm not putting up with that. That's not allowable. You Even if you allow it, I won't. And if you still want it, that kind of, I mean, that probably would show that there's things that in your life need to be worked on. Probably back to the previous comment, setting better boundaries. Um, Criticism versus creation. Now, one thing is, I'm trying to remember, like, people, the whole instant, like, people would criticize things that were created, but like usually the ones that are criticizing are not the ones that are putting forth the effort, because you can't really criticize if you're working. It's kind of like, okay, yeah, great example. It's kind of like, okay, when you see a person going through a struggle when you haven't gone through the struggle yet, it's it's natural. I mean, it doesn't mean it's right. It's natural to criticize. But when you have gone through some of the things they've gone through, you show more compassion for what they're going through in, like, in creation, because it's because you can see, what they're trying to overcome. And so, outsiders view versus experientially. But no, a person is more attractive when they are with the person they love. Where like and yeah, I have noticed that one time, like, people, when I was head over heels for a woman, like 17 years ago, I was like probably happier than I've ever been, and people even noticed it. But yeah, and like, when it's like it's who God wanted you to be with, you are a happier person. Um, let's see, where would you be if at a critical moment your friends weren't there for you? Now, we have a lot of opportunities to, like, to see this in life. Because I'm a firm believer in advocating for your friends. Like, I mean, it's instinctual. Like, it's you always protect people who are closest to you, and that is important. And even and I was thinking about this. This is a great example of doing the, even if it's like, even if it is like, um, a situation that, the person that you stood for was in the wrong. What you did the, wrong thing for the right reason, and so there's definitely grace for that. Because like, you if you don't, what ends up happening is there's tension in that relationship, and when they need you for for something else, because they've been wrong in the past, and you question them to begin with, they're like, they think, oh, I can't go to this person, and that's not a good place to be. So if you're going to err in this side, and protecting, and those people that are closest to you, you'll never go wrong with that. So even like, yeah, because like the song, I like the song by the Pretenders, "I'll Stand by You," even if you're, you know. Even if you're wrong, I'll stand by you. And sometimes this is ugly. It doesn't. I mean, it's never. I mean, it's never as beautiful as it should be. But you know what? It's worth it. But friend accountability is a great thing. If there's no breaking, there's no healing. No healing, no learning. No learning, no struggle. Don't let a kid go to a restroom alone without an adult. That that one, it was funny because that was on the like the Nanny Carey abduction thing, which, you know uh, I've said before. I don't know if I said it on a podcast, but most of the crime that happens in life are people that are closest to you, and this was no different. They allowed Nanny Carey was the house nanny while you know um, while Haley was doing like her music, doing her teaching, and and so so because of that, she was allowed to get close to the family, and then like, I mean, that's why you trust your gut with people, because if you're like, if you're you trust your gut from the get go and says, yeah, I don't have a good feeling about this person, and just don't allow them to get that close. It's like talking to him, being friendly is fine, but not letting anybody into your home that you don't trust. And I mean, in a marriage situation, that is important, because because if you talk with each other and say, yeah, I don't trust this person, okay, then we'll find somebody that, if we need someone to clean the house, or nanny, or whatever, if it's someone we both can trust, um, then it's good. But let's see here. But no, and so that ended up where she took she took Jimmy, and I like that end of that episode though, because Jimmy outsmarted her, and then Dan in his brilliance, that was funny, because Dan, um after he got out from for murdering his brother, he was the kind of guy anybody would want in their family. It's like, he he announced to many to like to well, not many, but several people, I went to jail for murder. And like, if anyone messes with the family, says, you know what, I went to jail for murder, I would not have a problem with going back, to protect my family from you. And you're like, oh, I like this guy. But no, if Dan was that way the whole time, he probably would have been one of my favorite characters. But yeah, so he ended up, Grandpa Dan, like, you saved the day with that. Um, no, a brother's bond is unmatched, and this is something that throughout the whole One Tree Hill thing, you know, shows, you saw that with Nathan and Lucas, like from the get go. When episode 2, when Nathan called Lucas a bastard. Yeah, I know some people have an issue with that term. I don't I don't like the term, but I like being one even less. Um, that I mean, so thank God as a follower, as a follower of Christ, I'm not one. But but what ended up happening is Nathan got punched by Lucas, and then afterwards he said to his dad, "Did that punch hurt? Because that wasn't meant for me. That was meant for you." I was like, he gets it. But yeah, like brothers can fight, beat each other up, and still be best friends afterwards. It's I don't know if it might be in our DNA, because of protective mindsets. But I mean, I've never really thought about that. But it's like I've seen women get knockout, drag out fights, and they don't speak for weeks. You get into a fight with guys get into a fight, they can be buddies the next day like nothing ever happened. It's, but no, that's all I gotta say about that. You can say too much in situations. Yeah. Love is, and that's why I like what my old pastor would say when he would pray to God when I said enough, just help me to be quiet. Good, like good rule of thumb. Love is being able to see past the mistakes and seeing the potential in a person. Yeah, we have to walk that every day. You see, when people mess up, not identifying people in their sin, but saying, you know what, you're better than this. You're better than this sounds like it sounds belittling, but it's not. When you know a person is better than this, and they know they're better than this, that's the key part. Um, and you say, "Hey, you're better than this. Come on, rise above this. I know you can." And they're like, "All right, okay, God, help me to do so." And they seek help to do so. That's a really cool thing. You can't be with someone who they have your heart, but their heart isn't with you. And like that goes along with if you're not fighting, if both people aren't fighting for each other, it won't work. If one, because if a person has someone's heart, they're going to fight for the other. If the other person does, like, if the other person's heart is, I mean, uh, I'm not. I know I'm not. I know I'm botching this, but if a person, okay, if I love a person, I'm going to fight for them. I'm going to do whatever I can to salvage the relationship. If their heart is not with me and they don't, I mean, obviously it won't work. But yeah, so that's really the best. I mean, or vice versa. I mean, like, that's just the way life has gone. That's the way life is. Forever is scary for a lot of us. Yeah, I think about this too because I'm not afraid to die in the sense that I know that I am going to heaven, that I'm because I'm a follower of Jesus Christ. But as a human being, because I don't see the other side, I can't see the other side. Um, there's that thought line of what if this isn't the case? and so it's like now God says it is, but I mean it's like we have no control over what happens, once we die. But so in the sense of knowing where I'm going, I don't fear it. In a sense of this is all that I know, I do. I'm not I'm not ready to go yet. Um, let's see. You can't make anyone come back. Most of the time, no, just a sec here. Most of the time, love doesn't need words. And now, this is something too. When it comes to when it comes to life, people see more of who you are by how you live your life than words can ever say. And and you won't. I mean, you'll hear me say that probably several more times in my life, even in podcasts or if I get to do speaking arrangements afterwards. But the but people will see more about you through your actions than and how you treat others than anything you can ever say. Can you have a best friend that's a kid as an adult? Absolutely. Um, the reason I say this is because I had a coach, seventh grade, Coach Nash, who teachers have been discouraged from talking to students for years. Um, and now seventh grade for me was back in 1991. Yes, I'm old, but no, my body reminds me of that. But for like sometime in seventh grade, all the way to when Coach Nash retired after my friend Tyrone graduated or left Marshall. He I mean I had his number and I called him not as regularly as I did when I was in school, but but I had a list of phone numbers and we had a rotary phone. Like those phones that had a cord. It was over in the corner by the refrigerator in our house that we lived in. I would sit there for um, couple hours during the day. Like once I was done with my homework and eating and we were unwinding for the day. I would call all the numbers on my phone list. Usually, I only talk to maybe like two people during the night, two maybe three. Coach Nash a lot of times was one of them, but but I mean I mean I watched. I think I've talked about how his you can take my job, I don't care, but because he'd be outside singing praise to God while waiting on the kids. You can take my job. I don't care. I'll find another one, but you cannot stop me from talking about what I believe in. Um, he was nice. He was good to everybody. He was. I mean, like, he had fun. Like, he played basketball with the kids. If you made if you made a good shot, like or a shot that was like unexpected. He like, oh, and you could hear it all across the gym, and everybody would turn around and look like, what was that? What was this shot? And but no, sometimes you get to see it, sometimes you wouldn't, or maybe you'd hear about it once in a while. But the way he lived his life, I mean, he was awesome. But but yeah, I mean, if it wasn't because if it wasn't for him as well, I wouldn't have been as what I am today either. Because one thing about teenagers go through a time where they do not listen to their parents. It's not a it's not that they don't respect what the parents say or what the parents have guided them to be. It's they try growing to become their own person, having their own thought process. You always have to have a good role model. Having a good role model in your life helps a lot, and so I will always advocate for having a friend that's an adult, because they in a lot of cases the best advocates would validate the parents' teachings while adding on to it and helping them to become better people. And so um, that's something that Coach Nash did a really good job of, and so did a few of my close friends. But yeah, it's definitely important to have another adult that the kid can look up to. There's no greater honor than being able to choose loyalty to people over prestige. You'll never go wrong with being loyal to people over fame, fortune, power, prestige, prosperity. People will stay by your side. That money will come and go. It's okay to admit you're scared. Now, you have to. That's the importance of courage. Is like when you're scared, doing the like, you're at a crossroads. Okay, do I go with my go with my feeling, or do I go with what is right? And doing what is right when you don't know the outcome. You've heard me say that before. Charlie Kirk said it's the best definition of courage I've ever heard. But yeah, like that. Being scared is a crossroads. It's like you do what's right when you don't know the outcome. Love finds you. You don't find love. The only people who tear happy people down are those who are unhappy. The hardest part of saying goodbye is having to do it every single day. Sometimes it's not about winning, it's about healing. And the team will always be more important than statistics. And like that, the team will always be more important than statistics. Nathan, this was very key in his growth as a person on One Tree Hill, and I'm sure there are a lot of people that in real life that have to learn that as well. Yes, it looks better on paper to have a stat line of 25 points, 10 rebounds, 10 assists, or 3 goals, 2 assists, whatever. But if you lose, then if your team loses, that's like those stats really don't matter. That's something team sports teach you is having 10 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists, or even if you get 2 points, 1 rebound, and 1 assist. If your team wins the game, like that's all people remember. It's like is this is the success of the team. Um, Regret is a bad waste of energy. It's much better to learn from mistakes so we don't have regrets. Yep. Learning. Learning from our mistakes is the way we grow as people. Then we got a good role model makes good decisions for both you and the person following. Kind of goes along with the way that they live their life is crucial. It's like you'll learn more about them than what you'll learn about them through words. Always be loyal regardless of the pressures to be otherwise. You can't leave any loopholes with boundaries. Very true. If you leave a loophole, Satan and others will poke holes in that, and until you compromise. So your boundaries have to be firm, and um, you have to enforce them. And it's not, and people won't respect you if you say, "Oh, okay, this is a boundary for you," but for you, I'm not enforcing that. But but yeah, enforce your boundaries. I mean, anyone who respects you as a person is going to respect your boundaries. You can't sit on the sidelines afraid to live. If you have the opportunity for a second chance, you have to take it. And the biggest thing I like about One Tree Hill is how, regardless of the struggles everyone faced, they stayed close friends. And this was something that, I mean, like, we all have our characters that if you've watched the whole series, it's, if you, then you'll be able to see what I'm talking about. But also, even in life, we all have those, people that we identify with the best. It's like, the Bible does say don't like. I mean, that it's not good to show favoritism and judgment. We do. That doesn't mean that we don't have our people that we flock to, that we like more than others. That I think is normal, but the judgment is like you do what like you judge righteously. It's righteous judgment over, well, you're my friend. Well, is that contrary to what you said about it? It's bet like if you're gonna err on the side of protecting people that are closest to you. Not really. I mean, okay, yes, I can see why you would say that, because okay, doing what is right. Okay, if you do what is right and you know that your closest family member your family member is lying, um, and you don't defend them, then you run into a situation where you're not there if if they need you and they are telling the truth. Yes, it's difficult when a person lies to you. I haven't seen that really necessarily, um, from the standpoint of being lied to and having to earn trust back, but I can tell you as a person who has lied and has had to earn trust back. That is a very difficult process when you know you're telling the truth, but they don't know whether they can believe you because you have had a pattern of lying. And so yeah, it's so yeah, you stand for what's right and what's true, but but even in that process, when it comes to your family members, um, standing standing up and protecting them is, if you're going to err on that side. So it sounds like a contradiction, but when you understand the rest of the story, Paul Harvey, then then when you understand the rest of the story, it makes sense. But let's see. They all stayed pretty close friends through it all, and that was something that made watching the show very relatable through the whole. I mean, through the whole show is the core friendship stayed intact through the whole thing. So you got to see the growth of everybody like in the process, and that was a really cool thing. Happy spouse, happy house, not happy wife, happy life. Yeah, that's important, because in a relationship, um, it's it's an error to like just say, oh, happy wife, happy life, because that means that, oh, I don't. It doesn't matter that he's not happy. If I'm happy, that's all that matters. No, that's you'll create resentment and like in that situation, and things will fall apart at that point. Because if kids see dissension between mother and father, oh, they will. Satan will use that as a stomping ground for sure. So considering each other is crucial to build a solid family relationship, solid family structure. We win as a team and we lose as a team. Now, I like the line from with Angels in the outfield after their 15th straight loss. Um, I'll try to bleep out things it's like that are not nice words, but I always like the I always liked the speech. Danny Glover was a nut. Um, one more loss, which could have been a win, and you call yourselves professionals. I have never ever seen a worse group of 25 players. You don't think as a team, you don't play as a team, you don't even lose as a team. Y'all got your heads so far up your butts, you can't even see the light of day. One more loss and all, and I'll do this. And he throws um, throws something, I forget what it was, and bats and balls fly over the place. Bat hits one of the pitchers in the head. I want you, and then a sandwich rolls to the foot of the catcher, and he was like, "Bummer." I want you here in uniform at 9 tomorrow. We're going back to work on fundamentals. Fundamentals in the middle of the season? The guy who got his head hit with a bat says, I thought the game started at 1. Danny Glover. The game does start at 1, and you're a donkey. He's like, no, I'm a pitcher. Another guy says, you can be a pitcher and a donkey. It's very common. Like, oh. But no, I had to do that. It was just right there. But no, winning, like you win or lose as a team. I mean, it like success and failure is with the team, and that's the way things are the best way. When you get your chance, will you make the most of it? And you can't choose who you love, but whether you open your heart to love. Gets back to the beginning point. Is your heart softened enough to love? That because love is only through God and Christ. Unfortunate events happen in life, but you're still alive, so there is still a chance of bouncing back. That was a quote, like Nathan when he was like playing basketball at the end of his show. Um, but tell the truth even if it causes you to lose everything. That's a hard one, but it is worth it. And a lot of times it's funny because most people are not used to hearing the truth, and so even because people when they screw up, a lot of times they're like, "Oh, I hope he doesn't find out. I hope she doesn't find out." But when a person comes up and says, "Yeah, I did this," like, what? A lot of times, like the candidness of, "Yeah, I did this. This is why I did it." They nothing happens. I would tell on myself, and my boss Mark Davis, when I worked at Hopkins, could justify could testify to this. I would tell on myself, like if I got because my friend Rhett and I, I mean, it's like, we had our share of disagreements at work, and so I would tell Mark, hey, in case he tells you about this, yes, this happened, but this is why. And it's like, and he was like, I know he was like, man, I didn't need to know this. Come on, but y'all are adults. I'm glad you guys got it figured out. But but yeah, a lot of times you tell the truth. Um, you're not gonna lose everything if you've got a gracious and understanding boss. That's for sure. I went to Mark on several occasions thinking, man, I'm dead. Then, but then I tell him and nothing. But but yeah, don't lose your childlike faith and innocence because without it, you can no longer believe the best in every situation. Truth. You made a good teacher not want to teach, and good students not want to learn. Now that was a line Haley was a good teacher in the show. Because what led to that comment was there was a student that had just joined her class. She came off the street. She stole from Haley's friend Brooke's shop, and then she ended up writing a letter that writing an essay that was the best essay in the class, but it was controversial. And Haley was like, you know what, this deserves to be this deserves to be recognized because it's because it's talent, it's raw, it's truthful. um, and the principal was like, when she told the principal, I thought I'm the head of the newspaper. I have the right to choose what goes in and what doesn't. And then the principal's retort is, I have the right to determine whether you have a job or not. And and so Haley ends up losing her job because she won't retract. I think she was right in not and not backing down on that. And then so she ended up telling that teacher, "You made a good teacher not want to teach, and good students not want to learn." Would you rather have a parent who was there but bad at it, or a parent who bailed? Now this one's a hard one because for years I thought that it was better to have a parent who bailed because I don't know my biological father, but because it's like because God can step in and be for that parent that parent that left what I mean wasn't, but upon try to say that 5 times fast. Real reflection. I think it's better to have a parent that's bad at it than to have a parent that bailed, because because I learned a lot of who I am because of mistakes my father made, and it's like upon looking at that, you're like, you shouldn't have. Keep in mind, all things work together for the good of those who love God and to them that are the called according to His purpose. So if you have parents that are not that are that would call themselves bad parents, well, God uses it for the good still. And so if you're following Christ, the lessons that you learn from that parent that either you or they identify as the bad parent, God can use it to help grow your character, because you can look at look at their example and say, yeah, no, I don't want to make that same mistake. I'm not going to make that same mistake. If they're not there, you really don't have that. You're just angry about, and you're working through like all the reasons of why did they leave? Was it my fault? Blah 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 blah. But if they're there and bad at it, at least you can learn the lessons that um, what I mean by their mistakes. I'm not going to be that way, and even being able to sort through that from the things that they did that were good in applying to them to your life as well. And so if we are trusting in God's word, if we are trusting in His if we are going to take Him at His word, then we even with bad parents, God will use it to help growing us to the people that He needs us to be. With your dreams, don't settle out of fear. Just pursue your dreams, and anything that you believe in, like standing for what you believe in, not backing down, keep pushing through. The persistence will pay off. I mean, it may not seem like always. Maybe it takes time, just like seed time and harvest. You plant a seed, give it time. Work through work through what you need to work through, and God is faithful. He will bring the harvest when it is time. But that is it for this week. Um, and I will talk to you next week. I think next week we'll be finishing off the lessons from Tree Hill. Yes, I went over an hour this time. You know what? It was bound to happen at some point. God bless you guys. Love y'all, and I'll see you next week.